What I've got for you today is a game of StarCraft 2 that was recently played during the Dreamhack Atlanta European Regionals, and if I understand correctly, this game is a bit of a disaster. If I were to make a guess, it's probably because of the man right here in the top right-hand corner of the map, Data C. Playing here with the blue Protoss pieces, we have KingCobra. His opponent, certainly not afraid to bring the spice, but I do think we're probably gonna have the camera on KingCobra for the majority of the time. Playing here with the red Protoss pieces, we're looking at Shadown's main Nexus. Alright, so KingCobra. Real quick, in case you're unfamiliar, I casted a game between him and Bly just a couple of weeks ago. That was an absolute meme of a game. I really enjoyed casting that, even though it was a little bit painful to watch. KingCobra. He played this game competitively, StarCraft 2 that is, back when it first released, in like 2010, 2011 or so. Then he quite literally quit playing at the competitive level for a decade. I don't even know if he touched the game, but he recently decided to return, and he's actually showing some pretty good results. So KingCobra, in the dozen or so games that I've seen him play recently, he seems to have one of two options. And judging by the fact that there's a pylon inside of his main base, option one is not the strategy he's going to be going for here. But option one is him going for like 4 proxy gateways on the other side of the map and playing the dirtiest, cheesiest game you can possibly come up with. I mean, for example, if I were to cast a series of KingCobra versus Serral, I would not be surprised to see 4 gateways going up at the, third base of Serral at this stage in the game. That would be the level of dirtiness we're talking about. Option 2, however, and judging by the fact that everything is pretty normal so far, I think that's probably what we're gonna have in this game. Option 2 is him playing the most passive, the most turtliest, the most defensiest. Okay, that's not a word. Anyways, the most defendable, the really laid-back, really passive approach instead, where he loves to play carriers and he loves to play Tempest and late-game Protoss units. So either he plays a super aggressive early-game style, or he basically skips the early and mid-game entirely and goes straight for late-game units instead. Alright, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen all of the games that he's played. Oh, alright. I haven't seen all of the games that he's played, so, maybe today we're going to see something a little bit different, but considering people have been talking about this match, I think it's probably going to be option 2 right here. So, anyways, we've got ourselves a Stargate opener from KingCobra. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, double gateway here for now. There is indeed a pylon on the low ground blocking Shadown from taking his natural. He really wanted to get that going, but he should be a-okay. The second Stalker was apparently sent to go after that probe. And now it's going to be sent to work on that pylon as well, I'm sure, so he can still expand eventually. So action is going to be on KingCobra here for the time being. Stargate at this point is done. Should be an Oracle. Should be an Oracle, not a supply block. Well, it is an Oracle. But it's going to be a bit of a delayed Oracle. Now, sometimes a delayed Oracle can actually work out much better than a properly timed one. But I do recommend you get the units out as quickly as possible, especially if they're spellcasters and they need to generate energy. Anyways, he's going to be able to get that Oracle across the map here eventually. Is there going to be enough to defend here at home as well? I do believe so. Shield battery already coming up on the low ground here. Robo facility already coming up too. So it's Stargate into Robo. Whereas on the other side of the map, Shadown is opting to go for the Twilight Council instead. And I'm sure we're going to be seeing that blink research here in just a sec. There you go. Oracle was thinking about flying straight over those Stalkers, at least judging by the minimap, but he did decide to send it around instead. So this is actually a little bit funky, because Shadown probably expected an Oracle to show up right now, right? It should be in the opponent's natural right now. So if there's no if there's no, Oracle in your base, do you still expect it to come? Do you assume your opponent is saving up a second one? It's always a little bit tricky. There is indeed a second probe coming, and yeah, this is what I was talking about. Sometimes actually an anti-timing can work out better than a optimized build, which is kind of ironic, but that's the beauty of StarCraft. After more than a decade of competitive play, I mean, Oracles have not been around for that long. It's kind of hard to imagine the game without some of the units that Heart of the Swarm and Legacy of the Void introduced, but anyways, after years of playing against the most optimal build orders, unoptimized versions of his threat can actually work out surprisingly well. Anyways, so far, nothing all too crazy, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, not quite the complete conventional style that we see all of the time. Hold up. KingCobra doesn't have warp gate research. I didn't even look at the production tab, but he does not have warp gates. Instead, he decided to save his gas right now to go for a fleet beacon. Now, Shadown barely does not see that, although he's coming back around right now, and he is going to find out that there is indeed a fleet beacon. Okay, so the fleet beacon is needed for a couple of things. You can almost hear the gears turn right now in Shadown's head. Anyways, it's needed. Yeah, he clicked on it right now. It's needed for a couple of things. Obviously, the carrier, the Tempest, and the Mothership. All of those are pretty neat. You have a couple of good upgrades inside of the fleet beacon too. But this is indeed going to be that very passive approach here from KingCobra. He's going to need to add on at least one more Stargate. Because otherwise, the fleet beacon isn't really going to do him a whole lot. What? Are we doing... No. Oh my god, he's saving. Is this a Mothership rush? Yes, it's a Mothership rush. A Mothership rush. And, okay, so a bunch of people recommended this game to me. I understand now. Thank you for not spoiling it. There's a Mothership coming up at the 6-minute mark. Of course. Classic. Super normal, conventional build. Now, he did go for the Immortals. I was gonna say, he could have gone for a faster Mothership than the one that we see right now. But this is actually a pretty safe one, because when you think about it, I mean, he doesn't really know all too much, but he's seen the Twilight Council. It's gonna be a gateway-based push here from Shadown. He could go into the main base, but this map is not great for that. Immortals are really, really good when it comes to dealing with Stalkers, as I'm sure you are aware. If he would have rushed the Mothership straight, he probably would not have been able to defend against these Stalkers, and I think it's still gonna be a little bit tricky. But Shadown has opted to go for a third base here instead. He doesn't really need to be all too aggressive, and that's where things can get a little bit spicy as well. He did decide to go for double gateway on the other side of the map. Now finally an hallucinated Phoenix is going to provide high ground vision, and he is going to, even though it's a little bit awkward, he is going to get into the main base. Stasis ward over there. Nicely spotted. Obviously it's only a little shimmer, but he did notice it, and that's the most important part. Can he out DPS that one photon cannon? I mean, he can, but this is buying a ton of time for those Immortals to come back home. Mothership is going to pop. Barely 7 minutes into this game. There it is. Now, I guess a Mothership is going to be pretty good when it comes to defending against Blink Stalker builds, right? I mean, everything can be cloaked. The Mothership has 700 health in total, 350 health, 350 shields. The shields, of course, will regenerate. This is one way to keep, yeah, everything pretty safe. So he's going to see it right now. Yeah, he sees the Mothership flying towards his army. This is where you, definitely have to reconsider your options up to this point. So, Robo Facility comes up. Additional gateways are coming up as well. I think in Shadown's mind, the approach here is just to make a lot of gateway units. Because obviously on the back of this, KingCobra is going to go for flyers, right? It doesn't make sense to just go for one Mothership and then call it a day with your fleet beacon tech. So it makes sense that there's going to be additional gateway, or sorry, Stargate production. And if that's the case, just mass Stalker will probably do quite well. So 6 additional gates are coming up. We're going to go up to a grand total of 9. 4th Nexus. I mean, this is a good situation for Shadown. He's actually reading this really quite well. Despite the fact that he has not been able to deal with the Mothership up to this point, he's got a killer economy, 69 drones. That is quite nice. And that does mean that, economically speaking, he's going to start pulling further and further ahead. So KingCobra's threat in this game is to create one death ball. Like, this is the bulldozer style of Protoss, where you essentially just try to create your ultimate army, and then eventually you go across the map. You're not really planning on doing a whole lot else. KingCobra is going to sit back for another 8 minutes until he maxes out or so. If I were to make a guess, it's probably going to, well, maybe not 8 minutes, maybe like 5. You can max out pretty quickly from this point, but he's certainly not planning on getting a whole lot done other than, you know, maxing out. I don't think he's going to be pushing before that point. Shadown has a stellar eco. This kind of reminds me of a Zerg versus Protoss right now, where he's the one with way more income, and therefore he should be able to just throw away units like this. Now, the build order positioning, or the building positioning rather, and the way that everything is set up is really quite good. There are now disruptors available as well for our Protoss. In blue, that is. Just figured, ooh, a little bit of a stalker dance. Just saying Protoss doesn't really... Look at that guy. Just saying Protoss doesn't really do you a whole lot good. Anyways. Couple probes ended up getting killed, but so did the Prism. And honestly, up to this point, resource lost-wise, this is a fantastic game for KingCobra. Like, he might not have that great of an eco, but he is setting up a bulldozer. He is gonna go for the bulldozer approach. Oh, careful. And I don't really see exactly how Shadown is gonna slow this down. Well, apparently one way of slowing it down is by sending, how many? 17 zealots into your opponent's natural? There's so much static defense set up, though. I mean, sure, 5 probes. Quick math, 5 probes for a dozen zealots? I don't have a math degree. I know a lot of you watching actually do. A lot of engineers, a lot of smart guys. I'm sure you can figure out in your heads that, yeah, that was not a very good trade. Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. All right, so, I mean, the map is completely Shadown's. He can do whatever he likes, and apparently what he likes to do right now is collapse on top of this army in blue. That stasis ward is excellent. Look at that stasis ward blocking a lot of this advancement. And this is so frustrating to play against. I have played against this style so many times, and while I enjoy casting games like this quite a bit, I absolutely hate playing against this. Because for Shadown, it kind of feels like he's running into a brick wall right now, where he is, you know, forced to deal with this army before it really gets too powerful. And while he's been trying his very best to slow this down in any way that he can without, you know, going completely all in, he hasn't been particularly successful. It's 90 probes, though, versus only 50. That economical lead should really help out. Okay, yeah, so here's the follow-up from Shadown. He's decided to go for his own fleet beacon, and he's now gonna use some of that cash to go up to, okay, 6 Stargates in total, and he's gonna start producing Tempest out of all of them. He doesn't have enough money for that. I think this is maybe a little bit overly ambitious, but just Zealots and Tempest, I think, is gonna be the name of the game right here for Shadown. Not a bad call at all. He's gonna go for some armor upgrades too, which is a good idea against all of those carrier interceptors. But I think the strat is to try and pick off those units from KingCobra from a distance. This transition, though, feels like it's kind of late. Because KingCobra already has one hell of an army. 93 army supply versus 87 in favor of the player in blue. He's still not moving, though. Nah, he's still not moving. Maybe the 8 minutes that I mentioned earlier weren't actually all that inaccurate. I know a lot of people get angry whenever they play against cheesy styles, and this is like the exact opposite of cheese, I suppose, but hey, it's, if it works, right? Like StarCraft 2, it doesn't care about your feelings. As long as you get the victory screen, that's all that really matters. Even though it may be a bit of a dirty way of playing, it's legit. It counts. Okay. He's doing an excellent job defending against everything, by the way. It's not easy to split your units in the right place at the right time. Upgrades are looking good here for KingCobra already, too. He's gonna go into the +3 flyer attacks, and again, that benefits every single one of those carrier interceptors. Shadown is starting to feel the heat right now. He's tried. One thing that he does have going for him right now, though, is 5 Tempest already. They're expensive, but they're also very strong, and they're, well, incredibly good at picking off those big flying units here of KingCobra. So Tempest, they have a lot of range when it comes to air-to-air. Not as much from air to ground, but as long as there's an Oracle nearby here for Shadown, which he currently does not have, he needs some sort of vision to actually see those units for the Tempest to be able to shoot at their maximum range. But anyways, I would love to see an Oracle from him so he could actually, yeah, that's what he's doing right now. So he could actually use the Revelation spell on all of these flyers and then, you know, have the Tempest shooting at their maximum range through the Fog of War. Okay, a little bit of harassment here from KingCobra. Those Oracles from the early game, putting in some work. Love to see that. He's actually now killed more workers than, yeah, his opponent, despite all of the harassment. If you look at this point at units lost and resources lost, that hurts. That hurts a little bit. As someone who's played against many Turtle players over the years, it hurts just a little bit. Anyways, Shadown going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 base versus his opponent's 4. This should not work, right? This should not work. Please don't tell me this is gonna be a KingCobra win. I mean, I kind of want him to. The sick part of me really wants him to win this with just one all-out assault. KingCobra, by the way, is not going to care about any of those outer bases. What he is going to do is just bulldoze straight through the center of the map for his opponent's natural and main base. I don't think he's going to split off his units or anything like that. He's brought a lot of Phoenixes out, by the way, which is kind of interesting. Wait. I didn't even pay attention to that yet. I assumed he would go more carriers, but he's actually going 16, 19... Wait, hold up now. He's doing that as a response to those Tempest, isn't he? 20 Phoenixes versus Tempests. How is that going to work? I guess the Tempest won't be able to disengage. Well, we're going to find out right now. This is the first time that our Protoss player in red finds out about it, and it turns out that's actually a pretty damn good choice. Oh my god, those Phoenixes with +3 attacks. Absolutely murdering the Tempest. Dude, they deal so much damage. So they have the Annual Pulse Crystals research too, which gives them additional ranged. And even though the Tempest definitely, outranged them, even the Immortals right now are being sacrificed. They were just a stepping stone from the early game. Anyways, it turns out Mass Phoenix, surprisingly good against Mass Tempest. Not really a situation we find ourselves in all too often. Okay, I thought this was going to be a full Bulldozer army. They deal so much damage, oh my god. +3, yeah, we don't really see +3 flyer on Phoenixes all too often, but they deal a stupid amount of damage. Look at them. Ay. Alright, well, I did go after one of the outer bases. I was wrong. I assumed it was going to be Mass Tempest. Or, sorry, Mass Carrier, maybe with some Tempest for support. There was an attempt at Zealot run by 2 on the other side of the map, but a battery overcharge took care of that. Finally, the Mothership from the early game died. That is -400, -400. Phoenixes still remain, but they have certainly dwindled in number. But, I mean, there's more coming across the map. Is there enough here for the Protoss player in blue to obtain the victory right now? Because that's what he's aiming to do. He's dealt a ton of damage, though. Shadown's economy is actually completely shut down. He is going to be able to get rid of all of his opponent's flyers. So that's nice. Okay. Good blink forward right there as well from our French Protoss here. Trying to snipe as many of those disruptors as possible. Now the recall will be used, and Shadown is going to be able to, at the very least, force this army to go back home. After being behind for about 15 minutes, economically, KingCobra grabs an eco lead. Now, it's an eco lead with an asterisk right next to it, because he doesn't have a whole lot of economy himself anymore either. But you know what? Now that the era of the Tempest is dealt with, we're gonna go into 4 additional carriers, roll at the same time, and then more, well, Motherships. The second Mothership is coming up. Is there enough, though? Ooh, the Phoenix is actually lifting off some of the Stalkers that apparently came across the map. KingCobra now with a very, very solid supply lead. Dude, I love this so much about StarCraft 2, right? Like, every once in a while, we have guys that come along that play strategies that, in theory, at least in your mind, should not work. Right? Like StarCraft 2, in a way, in a lot of people's minds, in a lot of people's, guesstimations, I guess, it is quote-unquote solved. In the sense that we know what the best optimized way is to play, and yet, even after everyone plays the same strategies and everyone is in agreement, okay, we do this build order or these 2 build orders the majority of the time, every once in a while there's someone that comes around that rips off the band-aid and that shows us that no, actually, there are other options. And despite the fact that this is a very dirty option, KingCobra is showing us that if you don't know how to deal with this, it is a very, very, very strong unit composition and certainly a really good build order. Like, everyone's always super focused on economy and upgrades and all that, and while those are certainly important, KingCobra is showing us that, well, if you have the right units at the right place at the right time, it's actually very doable. My god. Mass Phoenix. Oh, dude, that's so sick. I never considered that. So wait, he lifted up all of the Stalkers to then arrive with the Purification Novas of the Disruptors? I mean, obviously you can drop them manually too, right? You can cancel the liftoff of the Phoenixes, so you can get all of the Disruptor hits to do maximum amount of damage. Obviously, there's a chance that your opponent is going to blink away, so you do have to time that appropriately. But anyways, here we go. I thought we were going to have one final engagement here from Shadown, but he looks at that fight after blinking forward, and he realizes that there is no way he's going to be able to address that force of KingCobra. Alright, so real quick. He went for a pylon, into a single gateway, quick double gas, cybercore in the back of the main base, but without the warp gate research. So that signals to me that he was intending of doing this the entire time. He did not plan on, you know, getting fancy here with you know, the build order after seeing his opponent do something. No, that's not the case. It was simply just him going for this strategy right from the very start of the game. And I actually really quite like the robo facility, like historically at least. In the 3 games that I've ever seen a Mothership rush, people always try to get the fastest possible Mothership. And that doesn't really work against Blink Stalker openers. But if you get a couple of Immortals out as well, you can defend against your opponent's Twilight Council shenanigans. And, well, then getting the Mothership out is pretty helpful. So he does do a little bit of scouting here with some hallucinated Phoenixes and all that. But honestly, I don't know what he's looking for. It's not like he can really respond to a whole lot anyways. I mean, obviously, when he saw that Tempest transition, right? So I'm actually curious on whether or not he picked up on that right away. Yeah, so there are additional Stargates right now in the production tab, but they are not spotted just yet. They're all right over here inside of the main base of KingCobra. He sees the Stargate production right now. He sees the Tempest coming up, and that's when he starts up the Anion Pulse Crystals. So the Mass Phoenix transition was indeed a response to seeing the opponent going Mass Tempest, which is kind of sick. If you enjoyed watching this video, please take the 1 second that it takes to hit the like button down below. It really does help. And if you enjoyed watching this a ton, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified as soon as future videos go live. I try to upload pretty much every day. On top of this channel, I also upload daily to a YouTube channel called More Loco, which is where I post completed games that I've streamed on Twitch. In case you're interested in that, the link is down below in the description of this video. Currently, for example, there's my Timberborn playthrough going up over there on the new update that they recently came out with. But there's also a bunch of StarCraft 2 custom campaigns, and there's like, I don't know, 6 completed games on that channel right now. So go check it out if you want to. Anyways, for now, thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to smile, and I'll see you once again in the next one.